Hey, welcome! Today I'm going to show you guys how to make some fake Hugs and Kisses cookies. So these are kind of like the peanut butter cookies with the Hershey Kiss in the middle, but we're going to do the Valentine spin on it. So I'm going to use my air dry clay, Crayola air dry clay for this. And the reason why I'm using that is because you can get more definition and texture in your cookies. So you can use foam clay, you just won't get as much of the realistic look. So I'm just going to condition my clay a little bit, and then I'm going to roll it into a ball, and then I'm just going to smush it out to the thickness that I want my cookies. And then I'm going to take a cookie cutter. So this one is 2 1/4 inches. I'm just going to cut out my heart shape. And then just press it out of your cookie cutter. So now we want to add some texture to this. So I'm going to use my toothbrush, and I'm just going to go over it and give it some texture on the sides and on the top. Also, as you're adding the texture, try to get rid of that sharpness from the cookie cutter. You want it to have a little more rounded look around the edges there. Then I'm going to take a toothpick, and I'm just going to make some kind of like crackly looking spots where the cookie kind of has cracked. So I'm just going to go in like that. Just do them randomly. And then you'll want to let this dry overnight, probably before you do anything else with it, before you try to paint it. If you try to paint this clay while it's wet, it gets like smeary and it's just kind of a mess. So you'll want to let this dry overnight. One thing before we let it dry that we do want to do though is kind of press our finger into here. This is where we're going to put the Hershey Kiss or hug. So just to kind of give you a little bit of an indentation to sit that down into, and then just set it aside and let it dry. Now we need to make the Hershey Kiss. So I'm just going to take a piece of clay, and you'll have to kind of play around with this until you figure out what the right size is to make a realistic Hershey Kiss. So roll it into a ball, and then we're going to start pressing it down against the surface and kind of turning it. We're going to try to kind of make a cone shape here to start. And then we want to get this top part more pointy. And then just kind of press it and pinch that top part so that you get that really nice kind of bell shape toward the bottom, and then the pointy tip at the top. Just keep working with it until you get it to look like the real thing. So there's that. And then one other thing that we're going to put into some of these cookies is the Hershey chocolate hearts. So I'm going to show you how to make those too. So for that, we'll just press this out. I mean, you can roll this stuff out too if you'd rather roll it, but to me it's easier to just press it with my hand. So for this one, we're going to use a 1 1/4 inch cookie cutter. Probably a 1 inch could even work. And still look like the real thing. So we're just going to press that out of there. And then I'm just going to make this look more rounded around the edges and push it down toward the surface so that we get that kind of chocolate look. Smooth out any spots that are cracked or messed up. And then these have a little heart in the center. So for that one, we're going to use a 3/4 inch. And so just get it right in the center. Now we're not going to cut through with this. This is just going to make an indentation as like a decoration. So just make sure you get it pressed in evenly all around. And then it should look like that. And then the inside of the heart has some texture in it. So I'm just going to take my toothbrush tip and just kind of put the texture right inside of there. And then we need to let all of these things dry before we can do anything else with them. So I have some that I made up ahead of time so that we could go ahead and do what we need to do here in this video. Now I'm going to show you, because I made one out of foam clay because I wanted to be able to show you guys the difference. So here's the foam clay and here's the other clay. So that's what I mean. See how, I pressed just as much into this to get texture, but it all just kind of pops back out. It doesn't hold the texture as well. So, but it works if that's all you have. So now we need to paint these. So I'm going to do one that's a chocolate one. I'm going to do one that's like the traditional kind of peanut butter cookie color. And then I'm going to do one that's pink. So for the chocolate one, I'm going to use melted chocolate. And then for the peanut butter one, I'm going to use classic caramel. And then for the last one, I'm going to do pink. So I'm going to use pink eraser for this one. It depends on what color you want it to be. You could do a lighter pink, a darker pink, a brighter pink. Or you could do red even. Like a red velvet color would be really cool too. Okay, so for the Hershey Kiss and the heart, we're going to use melted chocolate. And then for the hug, I'm going to use antique white and melted chocolate. So I'm going to mix up my melted chocolate first. I'm going to put this in a cup because I'm going to add Mod Podge to it so that it's glossy, so that it looks like real chocolate. So I'm doing about half paint and half Mod Podge. And then for the white chocolate, I'm going to use antique white. And then I'm going to add just a little touch of white just to make sure that it's not too yellowy looking. And then Mod Podge, gloss Mod Podge. So I'm going to paint one of these with the white chocolate mixture. And then I'll do these two with the chocolate mixture. Now just be careful when you're doing this not to get too much paint into those indentations to where it takes them away. You want to fill them, you want the paint to cover inside of there, but you don't want it to fill in all the holes, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So as I let my chocolate pieces dry, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the cookie parts. So I'm going to put sprinkles on these. So I have clay sprinkles that I made, and then I also have these little bead sprinkles. So I'm just going to kind of make a combo mixing those together to coat these with. So what I'm going to do before I put the sprinkles on is I'm going to put some matte Mod Podge over the cookie because I want to make sure my sprinkles stick, but I don't want to make it glossy looking. So I'm going to use the matte. And you don't want to put the Mod Podge in the center there. You want to make sure that's still open for your Hershey Kiss to fit in later. So I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle these. You can put the sprinkles as heavy or as light as you want. If you want to not use sprinkles and you want to do sugar, you can just use white sand. So now the Hershey's Hugs have their white chocolate with chocolate stripes in them. So they have 3 stripes that go across. So I'm using just a tiny little detailing brush and putting the stripes on. So there's like 2 on the sides and then 1 that kind of goes up the center. So now I'm going to use my Gorilla Super Glue Gel to attach the pieces to the cookies. So just press it down and then put it aside and let it dry for a little bit. Now for this one, I'm going to put my heart on here. I just want to make sure that the sprinkles are not covering the area that the heart needs to fit into. So just kind of knock off any that are going to be in the way. And if you wanted, you could actually put the chocolate on before you put the sprinkles on. That might be easier, especially for this one, because then you can see where you need to work around for sure. Just let your super glue dry and your glue for your sprinkles dry, and then you're all set. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial, and I will see you next time.